Hey, Kurt.
Hey, is that everyone?
I think so.
Awesome. I recognize familiar faces. I don't see anyone new, so I know everything should be familiar. Everything at least that we're going to discuss today should be semi-familiar from last week. But I'm curious, how did you guys feel? Did you have a chance, number one, to kind of put the pen to paper and craft a little one-line value proposition? Did anyone get a chance to do that or kind of go through the exercise?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So we are going to go through, I originally planned on going through some of those at the beginning, but I thought a better way to go about this would be to start to dissect and peel back the onion layers of why would we have a one line value proposition. We kind of started to go into that a little bit last week. This week, gonna really start to peel back the second, third, fourth layer and set up the following week, because the communication of this one line is the first opportunity for so many different things across the board that if you don't nail this, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot right from the beginning. And so the idea is to get this as crisp and clean and concise, direct as you possibly can, without the assumption that it's one and done. This is a live thing that might need to be adjusted over time. Something to pay attention to reiterate as needed based on feedback that you get from your audience. So let me share my screen quickly and set up a recap the elements of the one-liner, the frameworks we discussed, and then we're going to discuss value and how to use this one line as the first opportunity to communicate value to whoever you're speaking with. Tracy, do I have sharing privilege? I do not. Can you give me sharing privileges, please?
Yes. I'm sorry about that.
Did anyone struggle with their one line? Did you feel good about it?
You can share.
Yeah.
I need to fine tune mine. I wasn't able to put it, just doing taxes and I'm not sure if you heard, Kurt, my wife passed away recently. So just a lot of business stuff really consuming this week, and then kind of get a little bit locked up with all of that. It was an unexpected, yeah, we weren't prepared for any of that. So,
Yes,
no.
I did hear, and of course I apologize and I sympathize with your loss, and I commend you for being here and showing interest and putting forth the effort. I think that's awesome. Thank you, Tom. All right, let's go share that. All right, so we're going to go through a little recap here. All right. So how to build a compelling value proposition in one sentence. I know that was the theme of last week. We went through the kind of the framework of what makes a one-liner. What exactly are we referring to? Now, we covered what do you do? In order to start the process of building that one line, the questions you should be asking yourself: what do you do? What skills do you have? What resources, abilities do you possess or have you acquired over the years? How do you package those? How do you put those resources, those abilities, those people into a cohesive package that is able to deliver value to someone? Who is that someone and how can they benefit? And then why is that beneficial to them exactly? Having that understanding is also very important. That's our recap. As you recall, our element, our framework that we use in that communication You can call it elements, you can call it a framework. The most common would be problem, solution, reward. So first, crystal clear understanding you have to have as a business owner, an entrepreneur, anybody that is filling a need. You have to understand truthfully what problem are you actually solving, and then what is the solution to that problem. But further than that, how do you solve it, and how do you do it better, faster, more efficiently? How do you do it in a way that the customer or the patient is able to have a drastically different customer experience through your solution? So maybe your solution is exactly the same, it's the same exact result as a competitor, but maybe you do it so in such a more enjoyable way than a competitor does. There's a ton of value in that. And I guess I'll give this is probably a good time to give a real life example. Does anyone have, or has anyone driven a Tesla? No one's driven a Tesla. Okay. So when Elon Musk was starting Tesla, all of the VCs that he had approached, investors he had approached, in short, shot him down right away, basically, because of the business model, the financial model that car manufacturers utilize. They plan on breaking even on the sale of a car, and they anticipate their profits or their margins on servicing those vehicles. And in 2008, I'm sure most of you probably recall, that was a very difficult financial time, financial circumstances for a lot of people, a lot of businesses. And so everyone obviously said, you're crazy, not a smart idea. But he had plans that his investors or VCs just didn't quite appreciate. That was he knew that a delivery of an electric vehicle would be not even a comparable driving experience. That's what I mean by it's the same thing. It's a car, 4-door sedan, because they started out with one model, but the driving experience was so different that to an audience or someone that would be purchasing a vehicle would view that as incredibly more valuable. That's what I mean by doing it in a way that no one else can. And then as you recall, we talked about understanding what those benefits are and what the reward actually is. Now, today we're going to talk about what is it functionally though. So we've talked about the elements. Now, what is it functionally? Well, to start with, it's your first opportunity to communicate what you do and why it's valuable. So your first opportunity to communicate that value. Now, the importance of the one line is your ability to demonstrate how sharp you are, how long you've been doing this, how comfortable you are performing whatever service you're providing or delivering whatever product you're delivering. Demonstrate how confident you are. Demonstrate that you are clearly an expert in your field. Second, this is your first opportunity to dictate where you start on the trust continuum. So you can either start high on the trust continuum or start at the bottom and have to work your way up. That's the importance of the clear, concise delivery, that when somebody hears and it's crystal clear to them exactly what you do, subconsciously, that tells them that, oh, this person really, really understands what they do, and they've been doing it for a long time, because they just explained to me, who I'm someone that knows nothing about what they do, but after one sentence, I now understand what they do. So don't underestimate the impact of that as my point. Number 3, assuming, you might be talking with a prospect, you might be talking with a lead, you might be talking to someone that has no connection or will never be a customer or a patient. But if you are talking to a prospect or a lead, this is the beginning of the customer journey. So do they want what you have to offer? Do they need what you have to offer? Are they willing and able to do business with you? Now I'm gonna open the floor a little bit. We're gonna have a little open discussion here about communication of value, but let's first talk about what is value. Anybody, I'll take a volunteer. You can frame it as a definition or frame it in a way of what does value mean to you? All right, Tracy, I'm gonna start calling.
An undeniable, hate to use the word value, but value is an exchange of something I don't have for something I absolutely need and immediately trust and buy into and see its personal worth to me and something that I can use readily or access that's something I don't have access to at the moment, and now I do.
Sure. Thank you. Yes, that's great. Obviously, I'm well aware. This is a 2-hour long session just by itself. But what is it to you specifically? It could be your own definition. Maybe it's based on a previous experience you had personally, professionally. I just kind of want to get a good frame of reference here of how you all perceive that word and what does that word mean to you?
Are you asking me again? Because I will
No,
say the value
no,
of
anyone
time.
else? Anyone else?
Jump in. I mean, for me, value would be the price I am willing to pay or see in a product or service, whether it's emotional or actual financial,
You said
is
price
a way of measurement.
measurement. Okay. All right. We're gonna come back to that word. You said price and measurement. Okay. Anyone else? Chantel, what do you got?
I guess I would say I would consider value a particular benefit to a person. It has to be beneficial, something that they need and that they particularly want.
Because why?
Because it can help them,
How?
or they could be helped from either knowledge or an experience. Guess that's
Okay.
about
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Can anybody maybe give some elements beyond those? Price, measurement. I like measurement, but we're gonna go through an example that I think utilizes that word. Any other elements that anyone can think of?
I think in my world, my background, it would be just wellness to help people figure out. Sounds like semi kind of parallel to Beth's stuff. It's just that wellness, healthy approach to living lifestyle. And when most people land in my office in the hospital or acute care health setting, they haven't done a whole lot of that typically, and that's how they get to meet me. So to be more proactive, which is where our healthcare system is trying to drive initiatives, preventive care, diet, exercise, all of those things. So no, very much. It's just that wellness is that the value, and that's what I try to instill in my students and try and instill in my clients, patients, whatever, is what do you need to do to be healthy, whole, well again.
Got it. I like it. I like that. I'm not gonna go into it today, but I will say your use of the word wellness, I think, is well placed because I'm sure you all have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if you pull up that diagram or that pyramid, starting at the bottom, one is a foundation for the following set. And then that following set is the foundation for the next set. And so value can usually always be traced back to those hierarchy of needs. I'm not going to go into it today because that, like I said, that would be a 2-hour long session just by itself. But in short, if we were to put some like umbrella terms on the hierarchy of needs, we're talking in terms of value. We won't either want to save somebody time, save somebody money, save somebody stress or headaches, anything that furthers or enhances that individual's ability to maximize the hierarchy of needs that they have. That would be a umbrella term, I would say. Now, all right, here's going to be an example to discuss. It's called the $1 billion burner phone. So, Beth, you mentioned price and measurement earlier. If I said, hey, I'm selling my iPhone 13 or 14, I think 13, how much would you pay for it?
I mean, I have my own phone, so I don't see value in having your phone and having to pay for it.
If you had to buy a new phone,
Okay.
say your phone broke and you need to make your life doesn't depend on making a call, but you'd like to have a new phone and I have one to offer you.
I mean, I guess I would have to find out what your phone has to offer me that I would be willing to put a price on that.
Okay. If those were the only facts I gave you, it's an iPhone. All I know is it's an iPhone. We're at the iPhone store. I'm the iPhone salesperson.
Okay.
How much are you willing to pay for the iPhone?
I mean, I guess I would probably have to ask a lot more questions and need a lot more information.
All right, give me 2 questions. The first 2 that come to mind.
First 2 that come to mind. What is the most up-to-date phone that you have?
Okay, next.
And then the other would be, is there a payment plan?
Okay. Somebody else. Tracy, I think you've probably heard this before, so you're out.
Well, I thought Beth had a great opener there, though, because she didn't have a need in her first thinking. And so my patients have a desperate need, but my doctors don't. So, I've got two markets. So patients, by the time they find me, they're desperate, but doctors, not so much.
Sure. No, yeah, that's a great observation, Mark. And yes, Beth, I will echo Mark there in terms of, I think the following question or statement that you made was even more impactful than your first question. But we'll get there in a moment. Tom or Chantel, anything or any price you'd be willing to pay for a new iPhone 13?
There would be what does it offer me? What kind of features does it have? How's it going to make my life better?
Okay.
I want a nice phone that's going to be able to do all kinds of stuff for me.
Sure. All right, Tom, since we're on you. I'm going to stay with you. Would you pay $1,000 for it?
I think you have to these days. It doesn't seem to be much of a choice.
Sure. Would you pay $5,000 for it?
No.
Okay. Would you pay? Well, then obviously you wouldn't pay anything above what, 2? Would you pay 1,500, $2,000?
12, 13.
12, 13 max, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Would it be safe to say no one would pay anything above that?
Yeah.
I think I want to know what you have to offer and what I have to trade value-wise, if we put those in a scale, I feel like I got the win. I got a deal of some sort.
Yeah, okay, I
The
like where you're
value
going.
you gave me was worth more than the value I gave you.
Sure.
I would want to know more. I would want to know more just the sale process. What are you going
Okay.
to do to support me?
Perfect.
Updates, what's your track record for support? How quick can you support me if there's problems, if phone's damaged, replacement, all of those kinds of features? What all more beyond just the purchase? What do you have?
Perfect. Okay, I like where this is going. Tom, I'm gonna stay with you. You're doing great. Now, you're measuring value based on the features that the phone has and the customer service that you would receive after the purchase.
Very much so.
Would anyone else measure the value of the phone in a different way? Mark, how would you value, or how would you measure its value?
I think the big package, like Tom was saying, yes, I get a phone, but what are the kind of the surrounding bonuses, if you want to talk about that? I don't really like the word bonuses because I think it's kind of overused in the whole digital marketing world. But I want to know the constellation of features beyond just that, or more like benefits beyond just that phone.
Okay. Would anyone else measure the value of the phone in a different way?
I would probably measure it by saying, what if I don't get the phone? What happens
Okay.
to my business? What
That's
happens
fine.
to communication with my family? What happens
Okay.
if I don't?
Sure. What could you be missing out on?
Yeah, that could be financially, that could be, could be a lot of things.
Perfect. Chantel?
Yeah, I would say, why is this phone better than another phone? If I would choose something different. Like,
Okay.
you
Would
know,
anyone-
what features does it have that's different?
Okay, would anyone place any value on the phone if it came like prepackaged with contacts?
No.
No. Would that devalue the phone?
It depends on the contact and what they can offer me. And I also want to know depreciation value. And when I trade it in, what am I getting?
What if what if I told you that you would never want to trade this phone in?
I want to know more.
What if it was laced with billion-dollar business opportunities in the contacts?
Then the phone is not valuable anymore. It's because the contacts and the relationships gained from the phone would then be an external thing, not the piece of plastic and the metal that it actually is.
So what would you pay for the phone then, Tracy?
I don't think that's the question.
It is the question.
It depends on the value of the contacts that we're talking about.
Why? That's what I was just referring to. What if it was laced with billion-dollar business opportunities in the contacts that aligned with your business? Would you pay 100 grand for the phone then?
Yeah,
200? Would you pay $1 million for it?
probably I would invest a significant amount of money for the return on investment, which would be far greater.
Anyway, does everyone get the picture I'm trying to paint here as far as like what is value and how do we measure it and how do we communicate it to like maybe one audience versus another? So I think that the illustration here to point out is You know, Tom was mostly measuring its value based on the features and the benefits that and the reliability that it would give him to communicate with family, friends, business associates, and so forth. Maybe he's already, because maybe Tom is already a billionaire and he doesn't need billion-dollar contacts. But maybe Chantel or Beth are on the come up and they're looking for billion-dollar business opportunities. Now the phone is a lot more valuable. It's the same thing, has the same exact features that any other iPhone has, but now the phone is exponentially more valuable just to a different audience. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so the point of that example is to demonstrate the importance of the one line, the importance of your value proposition that can change based on who you're talking to. Even if it's the same exact offering, the same exact product or service, it might be packaged in a different way to a different audience. Does that make sense?
Kurt, I have one small quick question as I'm thinking about everything you're saying.
Sure.
If you're at a restaurant and you have a great waiter or waitress and you have an average meal, the somehow you place more value on tipping or your general experience with what you received based on the interaction with the waiter or waitress.
Yeah.
So does that have any influence, the actual personable side or the way in which you're treated, or is it just a standalone statement? And I mean, where does that come in, the actual customer service experience and how you value it? Because I look at that way at a restaurant, it's like you could go get an average meal, but you're going to tip more if you have a great waiter. But if you have that same food and you take it to a high-end restaurant and this wait staff was terrible, your experience, the value you received in that memory that you made is no longer the same, even though it's the same meal. So how do you compare one to the other is what I'm trying to understand.
Well, I don't think your comparison is a good comparison to draw, because your perception of good, high quality customer service can change based on the restaurant you're eating at. So if you go to like a Denny's and you have amazing customer service at a busy time, yeah, you're going to take really, really good care of that waiter or server, because you probably weren't really expecting to have good service. You probably never had good, high quality service at a place like that previously. So your perspective of service would be a lot higher in a Denny's. But if you take that same server in Denny's and you put her in like a Morton's Steakhouse, it's the same service, but every time you go to Morton's, they're basically waiting on you hand and feet every 2 minutes with whatever you need. Your glass is never empty. You don't lift a finger for anything. But it's the same server. She's doing the same exact thing she did at Denny's. Is she still getting the same tip? Even though her service at Morton's is the worst service of all the servers that work at Morton's.
So it's just perception based then, just depending on the
Perspective.
setting.
Well, perspective, yes, but also the measurable here, or the notable, is it's economic. Nothing escapes the law of supply and demand. So in a Morton's, the supply of high quality service is abundant. It's everywhere. That's the culture. That's the environment. So you're expecting that high quality service when you go there. That doesn't mean you don't appreciate it, but your perspective of, oh my goodness, that was amazing customer service, it's not as noticeable there as it would be in a Denny's, a Bob Evans, wherever. You follow me?
Yes, thank you.
And so the supply at a Morton's of high quality service is abundant. So you probably are going to place a lower value perspective wise on that service. But in a Denny's, the supply of high quality service waiting on you hand and feet, there's not very much supply of that. And so when you do receive it, you're probably going to place a higher value on that because it's more noticeable. Your perspective changes.
Got it.
It sounds like just based on the setting too as well, that setting is gonna drive your expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And that's it, the customer experience, the service element that Tracy brought up is similar to my example of the burner phone having different value to different people. So Tom, if you were already a multi-billionaire, you're not looking for that. You're not looking for other billion-dollar contacts because you already have them. So those billion-dollar contacts that are laced in the phone, they don't pose as much value to you because you already have billion-dollar contacts in your phone.
yeah.
That
So then
makes sense?
I'll sell them to Mark.
Yeah, there you go.
Or from
Anyone else have a question about that or about that example?
It really made me think about, instead of phones and restaurants, it made me think about social media groups. So do I want to join? Okay, let's pretend I'm driving through a little town and it's about lunchtime and I see a cafe sign up. I have no idea what I'm going to get inside. It's like looking at the name of a school group and wondering, what am I going to get inside? Well, if it's got 1,000 fantastic influencers in the world I'm interested in, that's got a huge value. It's like it's like the contact database on the phone, maybe. But a brand new group, I don't know what I'm getting, but I'm hoping to get fantastic people and fantastic value. So in that context, I'm glad I'm sitting here with, it's a handful of people today, and I don't know what happened to the few that were here last week, but I'm expecting the nice surprise value out of this group. It's wonderful.
Thank you for that, Mark.
Yeah, we appreciate all of you coming back. I think some people weren't able, they did reach out, they weren't able to make it for work purposes or scheduling purposes. There were a couple that didn't hear from again. But yeah, this, like Tracy had mentioned last week, new group, very intentional purpose behind it that Tracy can elaborate on. And then she specifically brought me in for the kind of the operations and business side when it comes to operating efficiently, solving problems, scaling with automation, technology, and things like that. But in terms of, today's discussion, because I do want to make sure I get to some people's one-liners and refine if we need to. Any other questions before I move on? I think I have one or two slides left, and then we'll move on to a couple one-liners here. Nothing? Okay. So I elaborated a little bit in that example, mainly drawing attention to how value can be, or how one result can be more valuable to one audience than it is to another. Now, that communication is usually done this would be another framework for us to use, which we'll pick up on next Friday if y'all are able to make it. But in short, the 4 quadrants that we want to focus our attention on to build value is we have to first and foremost, number 1, communicate our understanding of exactly the pain that you're feeling, exactly the problem that you're having, And I have to tell you that I understand it so well. That does what? What does that do? That allows me to demonstrate for the first time, demonstrate to you that I know what you're going through because, well, that'll be number two, but I'm demonstrating that I understand the pain that you're feeling because I've seen it, I've felt it myself, I know how to fix it. Because then in number two, the question that you might be thinking if you're a prospect of mine is, okay, you understand my pain, but how do I know that you can give me what I want? How do I know you can actually help me? Are you helping other people like me? Or are you dealing with a completely different type of person? Number three, the next way to demonstrate value is communicate, for me to communicate to you a timeline. So when is this going to happen? So yes, I understand your pain. Number two, I demonstrate value by showing you I've done this for other people in a very similar situation, and we've done it X amount of times. And in those cases, you expect to receive results or achieve what you're trying to achieve in a certain period of time. The other question that you might be thinking is, okay, well, you understand what I need. You say that you can do it and you can cut the time in half. That's great. But what do I have to do? Is it like, am I gonna have to fork over some cash? Am I gonna have to do a lot of work here myself? Do I have to sacrifice my own time? What do I have to do? So in order for me to increase the value of my offering, I have to communicate to you, sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. I got this. You're in good hands. Why? Because I understand exactly your problem. I fixed it 1,000 times for 1,000 other people, exactly like you. We do it in this amount of time. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Does that make sense? So in this case, the top line, we want to increase. I want to increase my ability to communicate to you that I understand your problem. So I have to really, really connect as much as possible. I want to increase that. I also want to increase the likelihood or demonstrate that this is a very high likelihood that I can do the same thing for you that I've done for other people. The bottom line, we want to decrease that. We want to decrease the amount of time that you think it's going to take and decrease the amount of effort that or sacrifice that would be required. So what do I have to do? Just relax. I got this. How long is this going to take? Whatever the normal amount of time is, our system allows us to do it in half. We want to decrease, as long as all of it's truthful and honest and not a misrepresentation. But that's how you would, whenever I said earlier, better, faster, with a better customer experience. That's how you penetrate a market and compete with people or competitors that might have been there longer than you. Any questions? No? Okay. That's all I got in terms of framing the following week, because the following week, we're going to dive into these sections 1, 2, 3, and 4, and focus on what do these mean exactly, and really start to dig into number one, we put it on paper. Well, number one, first is understanding. Number two, we're putting it on paper today, putting things out on a couple different examples, saying it a couple different ways, at least how it looks, and then we're gonna get into verbally speaking it, and verbally presenting it to an audience, and then fielding questions or objections that might be fitting in one of these sections 1, 2, 3, or 4. Because every question or objection you get, you just expect it. Like, you should want that, because every question or objection you get is an opportunity to demonstrate how good you are, how good what you have to offer actually is. It's an opportunity to do what? Increase value. All right. Chantel submitted her one-liner. So I will start with you, Chantel. And we'll pick it apart, refine it if we need to, and then if anyone else wants to go through theirs, we should have some time for that too. Chantel, the floor is yours.
Okay, do you want me to read it? Okay.
Yeah. So let's just go ahead and read that out loud. Or first, tell me what your offering is and who you're presenting it to.
Okay, so I'm offering medication therapy management to at-risk patients who are at risk of having side effects, and also patients with chronic disease states who just might need a little bit of exploration into their therapy to make sure they're taking it properly, identifying any potential side effects, and just getting a personal, discussion with a patient to see how we could make sure that their treatment and therapy is going to give them the results that they expect.
Okay. All right. Now let's put all that into one line. One sentence.
Okay. What I came up with was, for my one-liner was, I provide personalized medication therapy review to at-risk patients to optimize health outcomes.
Okay. All right. Now let's pick it apart. What's the problem you're solving? Is it low quality outcomes that your review, consultation, and recommendations are increasing or enhancing, furthering the outcome, or they're allowing the patient to achieve a better outcome? Is that the problem you're solving?
Yes, the problem I'm
Or is it
solving
lack of
is
clarity?
I would say lack of clarity. I believe that in the setting where patients receive their medications, they don't have the quality time that they sometimes need.
So hold on, right there, hold on. Okay, so lack of clarity is the problem.
Yes.
You're solving the lack of clarity so they can achieve a better outcome. That's the benefit.
That's
the
the
reward. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, problem, solution, got it. Benefit, got it. Now put it together that way. Because I think yours came out kind of inverted a little bit. So do it, try and do it this time in that order. Problem, solution, problem, solution, reward.
So you're saying to say it as I
help patients understand whatever. Or tie it to clarity if you can. If you need some time, go ahead and maybe just, if you have a notebook or if you're at an iPad or something, try and put it in that order, and then we'll come back to you and see if that sounds any better. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But let's try it that way, because I'll get to Mark here. I think Mark, you submitted yours in the chat.
Yep. Before you go, I just want to let you know I have to return to work at 2. Okay. I didn't realize it was going to be longer than 2, but I will write it in the chat.
Okay.
How I redo it and try to listen, but I just can't be on camera.
Got it. No problem. Thank you, Chantel.
All right. Thank you for the time.
Okay, Mark, I help healthcare professionals become hormone experts in their market. Okay, all right, I got it. So from you, Mark, you tell me the problem you're solving and the
Yes.
pain that you're removing from healthcare professionals.
Yes, a lot of healthcare professionals, including licensed or unlicensed, it could be a health coach, want to add hormone expertise and they don't know where to start. So they want to expand what they offer their clients and they don't know where to start, or they've looked at multiple $1,000 trainings or something that's just not quite right.
Okay. All right. I like that. Now let's get a little bit more. I help healthcare professionals become hormone experts in their market. And the problem that they have is they don't know how, they don't have the expertise, or they don't know how to get connected with suppliers of HRT, TRT programs, compound pharmacies. So are you connecting the dots there, or what's the problem that the people that want to become hormone experts, or I'm sorry, that want to offer hormone therapy, what is the problem they have? Lack of knowledge, lack of connection?
Lack of knowledge would rank pretty high. There's such a fashionable trend to just prescribe hormone right and left. What they don't know is that many of the practitioners who do that are actually harming patients, and they don't know because they don't monitor well. So there's a huge trend. It's easy as a patient to find some doctor who specializes in HRT or low testosterone, if we're talking men, and not realizing that the practitioners often don't realize they're overdosing and harming patients. They don't monitor well. So it's kind of it's something I know about that I have to kind of convince them a little bit. They have a need that they don't know about. They're harming patients.
Right. Okay, so, and you're doing this for like, is it primary care physicians or people that own clinic, like people that own a certain type of clinic? So like when you're reaching, who are you calling on like people that maybe have a primary care office and could incorporate
Yes.
HRT in their offerings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I look through the years, most of them are small office. Sometimes it's an integrated staff with 3 or 4 practitioners. Some are unlicensed coaches. I don't get very many of those, but I love them because I have ways of helping them. But where was I going? They just, this is something we all need to know.
Yeah.
The best hormone practitioners in the world use the least amount of hormone instead of just jumping to the conclusion that they need to prescribe.
Sure. Okay, now, no, this is good. This is good that I now have a better picture of who you're calling on. Now,
Yes.
as far as I help healthcare professionals become hormone experts in their market, is it education, consulting? What is the offering that you're providing? Are they paying you for consulting, education? Are you training them?
Yes, I have 3 or 4 levels of training, training/coaching for practitioners. The first level would be archived videos, entry level, maybe an 8-week course or a 10-week course, and then I move them more to coaching. It could be different levels. Either they ask me for help with individual patients, that happens a lot, or I put them through what I call repetition and immersion with case study after case study after case study in a coaching environment, so that I shorten the time. If they just depend on the tests that they prescribe and get the numbers back, it'll take 2 years where I can do it in a few months.
Got it, okay. And the reward that this audience is achieving is an additional revenue stream.
Well, yes, but I don't think that's number one.
Okay.
It could be for a few people, but I think number one is that because of the world I live in, and I move practitioners into that world with me. They absolutely love their patients, and they succeed at helping them with the chronic ailments that have hormonal components. And they'll love what they do. And they will know, their heart was to help patients in the first place, unless they thought they were going to spend more time on the golf course. I don't get those kind of practitioners. The ones I get are the ones that really, really, really want to help people.
I gotcha. I like that. If I were to offer any guidance here, I know this could take a little finesse. It'll take a couple, options to lay out on paper.
Yes.
At times I've laid out 10 and then cross it down to 7, then to 4, then to 2. But then I usually test it though. Put it send it to your email list, put it on social media, ask for feedback. Say, does this make more sense to you? Does this make more sense to you?
Awesome.
Or which is easier to read, which is easier to understand. But if I were to offer you anything on this one-liner here, is I got the solution. Solution is great. Now, if I were to add anything, say, I help healthcare professionals become hormone experts in their market without whatever is holding them back from becoming the experts. Maybe they're not doing it already because they're too busy, they don't have time, they don't know where to get started, they don't want to overwhelm themselves, they don't know where to get the information, could be confusion. So I would maybe add a little bit onto there. So this says, I help professionals become experts in their market without confusion and overwhelm, so they can fill in the blank.
Yeah. I like the without phrase a lot. And like on a LinkedIn profile, I elaborate a little bit further. But this is my very short elevator pitch, I guess.
Short is good. Short is good.